All right, what's going on, everybody? A happy Thursday. Hope everyone's doing good out there. Welcome to the show. Could be watching, of course, on my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show, on the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, the FMAM dial KSHP. We're on TikTok, we're on Twitch, we're on X. Don't ask me why, but we're still on X. President Musk, I'm sure, is very happy about that. And we got a lot to get to today. Coming up here in just a few, Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch is going to be joining us. Yes, on the brink of a government shutdown. Going to be covering that nonstop today. Give you the latest. And Congress, by the way, has a 13% approval rating, but they're asking for a $70,000 raise. People crying on social media, politicians like Dan Crenshaw, how they're broke, they don't have any money. Dan Crenshaw's worth $1.5 million, by the way. His stocks are doing very well. You hear any of these congressmen or congresswomen complaining about how they're poor? I call baloney on that one. We'll get into all that stuff, but as I mentioned earlier, government funded plan that has been negotiated by Speaker Mike Johnson, who's supposed to be speaking in Phoenix this weekend. That appearance has canceled, by the way. Mike Johnson will not be speaking in Phoenix. I find that interesting. This deal was officially scrapped yesterday, for those of you that wanted a timeline on it. And I have a lot of different opinions that we're going to share, and I'm going to hear you guys out and get your thoughts on this. But I want to speak in general terms here, sort of to start, if I may. And if Donald Trump and Elon Musk were very serious about getting all the pork out of this bill, then they wouldn't have waited 72 hours before a possible government shutdown. These are not serious lawmakers. And let's call Donald Trump what he is. He's the vice president. President Musk was really serious about this stuff. They knew about this in text threads from months ago. It took months to put this deal together. I'm not defending Mike Johnson in any way, shape, or form. All I'm simply saying is if Donald Trump and Elon Musk had such a problem with this, then why would they wait till now to talk about it? It's ridiculous. So to talk to us about this and a lot of other high-profile stories to discuss, and Midas Touch has done such a great job. I love the interview Ben did with Joe Biden, by the way. Joining us right now on the program is Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch to talk about this. Ron, what's going on, my man? How you doing? Did we lose some audio? Do we have Ron?
I apologize.
There you go. We got you, Ron. Go right ahead.
I gotta hit the green button on my microphone.
That's okay.
So crazy. I mean, it's just like following this, the twists and turns, all the reporting behind the scenes from the various people. I mean, some of the best reporting right now is coming from Fox and right-wing outlets because, a lot of the Republicans that are upset are dishing the dirt. Some on the record, some off. And
right.
It's just I think Johnson is toast. I mean, he was supposed to speak on Saturday at the big AmFest. That's Charlie Kirk's big event out in Arizona, which is like the biggest event of the year. It's like everybody's got to be there. The only person who canceled this week was Kim Guilfoyle after, Junior broke up with her. So she canceled, but Mike Johnson canceled today. And so what does that tell you? That tells you that he knew he was going to get booed off stage. I mean, he was about to get Lindsey Graham'd. Have you ever seen Lindsey Graham show up at a Trump rally? He gets booed off stage every time.
Everywhere.
But the guy just keeps showing up. It's like it almost like it doesn't bother him. But, Mike Johnson was about to get just crucified at that event. And so he knows that. So he canceled.
Sure.
So, I mean, there's so many signs. There's so many people out there that have already said, multiple Republicans have already said that they will not support him for speaker. And that election is in 2 weeks.
Let me ask you a question, Ron. And I've been thinking about this. Why is it that Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the Vivek Ramaswamis of the world, why did they decide to complain about this at the last minute? There has to be a reason. They're calculated. We can call them crazy and we can call them a lot of names and not serious people. But What is their reasoning, in your opinion, Ron, as to why they are doing this and why they decided to wait to the last minute? Is it all about Mike Johnson, or are there more reasons for why they're doing this? I'm not buying the fact that they care about the pork in this bill. Donald Trump put us $8.2 trillion in debt. It seems to me a lot of people on the far right forget about that when they want to talk about fiscal responsibility. But why do you think they're doing this, Ron, and so late?
This is how they do things. They did this with the border bill. James Lankford negotiated that, spent weeks negotiating that. It was reported, mainstream media, basically the parameters of what was in it. Nobody said very much. And then, at the last minute, Trump chimed in and said, I don't like this. I want it tanked. And then all hell broke loose, right? So here we are again, but this time it wasn't Trump. Trump was at the Army-Navy game with Mike Johnson this past weekend. He didn't say a word. There wasn't one word. He was there with a lot of House Republicans who were there. And he didn't say a word to any of them about this. He didn't tweet about it. He didn't post about it on True Social. It was Elon Musk that initiated all of this, because I think Musk is so geeked up and keyed up to get his fingers into this government and into this budget and all of that. And he's gotten himself so worked up. And this was like the first thing that's come down since the election, right? Is this. Even though we've all known that this day was coming,
right?
Part of the fault is Mike Johnson, because he always waits until the last minute to put the results of the deal out. So everybody's in the dark, not knowing the details.
Right.
And what does he do? He puts it out Wednesday night, and the government shuts down Friday, and it's 1,500 pages.
Insane.
So that's part of the problem. So Musk is up. Here's what happened. The bill comes out at like 9:00 at night. Musk and Vivek are up until 4:00 in the morning reading it. The two of them. It's like a law school cram session or something. And then at 4 a.m. is when Musk starts blasting out how much he hates it. And then it just took a life of its own, where it snowballs. And it really, I think that a lot of these House Republicans, they were in there yesterday, and I was watching this play out in real time. And like a couple of them, the usual suspects, were grumbling and griping, and it was the usual thing. And then all of a sudden, just all the avalanche just started happening, and it was all keyed by Musk. Musk drove the whole thing.
Oh,
and
sure.
so, I think that it's very effective right now to call him President Musk.
Yep.
A lot of the House Democrats and Senate Democrats are doing that today in Congress. They are calling him President Musk, because, that's going to drive a wedge. Trump is not going to like that. If Trump hears President Musk a few times, he's going to get annoyed.
I agree. I was just having a conversation with somebody about that. So I wake up this morning, and as I usually do, I go through your X account and of course other social media platforms. But you tweeted out, MAGA has decided to suspend preparations to repel an imminent alien invasion of New Jersey to focus on taking out the Speaker of the House. But there's a part of what you're tweeting which is absolutely true, with the conspiracy theories of Nancy Mace and others that have talked about the drone invasion. So
these guys go from like one shiny object to another.
Right. No, I agree.
One conspiracy to the next.
It's crazy. And then Rand Paul, who I think is a complete moron, now saying that Elon Musk should be the next House Speaker. I mean, should we take any of these people seriously?
Yeah, I mean, they spent like a week, Fox like nonstop, like round the clock drone stories, right? That we're being invaded by China or Iran or aliens from another planet, and everybody's freaking out, right? And then this shit happens with the debts to the CR, and all of a sudden, no one's talking about the drones anymore. It's gone. It's gone off right-wing media. I monitor right-wing media all day long in social media. It's gone. Like the aliens, no one's talking about it like overnight. So it's like 1 minute they're like, it's like World War III is about to break out, and then the next minute nobody cares because they don't like the CR, so it's just, and then, the Elon Musk thing. Look, I did my podcast yesterday and my co-host asked me about this. And I said, look, I bet you what's going to happen is someone's going to push Elon Musk for speaker. I said, I think Johnson will not survive this. And someone is, I don't know who it's going to be, but someone is going to push Musk for speaker. So, who was the first one? Rand Paul. Then, of course, guess who else sort of chimed in? Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, said she thought that would be a good idea. And of course,
Ridiculous.
Green hates Mike Johnson with a passion, has hated him from day one.
Yeah, of course. I want to get your thoughts on Elon because I had posted this on social media earlier today, Ron, where, you know, Elon, to me, he makes these statements, especially lately, that you guys are the media now. Not talking about you and me, talking about just users on X, people that can't spell the word journalism, that don't have any degrees, that have never worked for anybody, and they just watch their Newsmax all day and they form their opinions based off that. And he calls them the media. Which I find to be absurd and ridiculous. And then we have some right wingers on social media that you've talked a little bit about Dan Crenshaw, who has had a meltdown the last 48 hours, going after Cat Turd, saying anonymous coward like Cat Turd, talking blank without any evidence. I'm used to it. Sorry, I was the guy fighting the wars. He's lied about his stocks. He's been accused of insider trading. I don't know if that's true or not. But he's worth $1.5 million, and he's sounding like he's living paycheck to paycheck. He's not the only one that's doing this, to be fair. Others are as well. But Dan Crenshaw seems to be losing his mind. What is going on with Dan Crenshaw?
I don't know why he does this. I mean, I don't know why. It's got to be this like false macho thing because, there's all these right-wing trolls that love to go after Crenshaw. I mean, they hate Crenshaw. Because he's kind of an establishment, old neocon sort of guy, right? He's not really MAGA, and he's not all in on Trump. And so that's one reason why they don't like him. And the other reason is there's one of these, I forget his name, but there's one of these far-right MAGA guys who has run against Dan Crenshaw twice in the primary. The last time almost beat him. He was outspent like 50-1 by Crenshaw, and he came within like 3 points of beating him. So not only do these guys always troll him, but they actually think that it's being done for a purpose, that they can actually beat him. And so what should Crenshaw do? He should ignore these people. He should ignore Cat Turd. He should block them. This other guy, Nick Sotor, there's about 10 of them that constantly hound Crenshaw like every day over you name it. So the latest thing was they claimed, the congressional pay raise was put in this new package, which is like, you have this controversial package that everybody's dumping on. Why in the world would you choose now for the first time in 15 years to put a congressional pay raise in something? Like, why would you choose this moment to try and do that? Because, probably Trump's coming in and they know that it's not going to happen maybe when he comes in. So this is their best shot. So they were saying that Crenshaw was the one behind the pay raise being in there, which is probably not true, but they like to blame him for everything. So he just went off on that. It's what he was doing. But the point is, he's up at like midnight, 1 a.m. cursing and saying all this stuff at these like internet trolls. And it's like, dude, you're a member of Congress. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Why not just ignore these people? It doesn't make any sense to me at all. Do you actually think that we are going to have a government shutdown, or do you think they'll find a way to pass something through here? And, listen, there's a lot of people, as you know, Ron, that would be affected by it. All federal employees and public servants. And especially around this time, you couldn't talk about a worse time for this to happen during the holidays. Do you think it's actually going to happen?
I mean, yesterday I said no, but today, see I would say if they were just dealing with Elon and Vivek and their mania, that I think it would get done. But Trump getting in at the 11th hour with this raising the debt ceiling has thrown a whole new monkey wrench into it. And he told Jonathan Karl today, which is a funny little aside, because every legacy media outlet on the planet is trying to get an interview with Trump right now over this. And he gave one interview to a legacy media outlet. Who did he give it to? He gave it to ABC, who just paid him $15 million in a settlement. ABC. He gave them the scoop. Maybe a coincidence. But anyway, he told Jonathan Karl that he wants the debt ceiling raised now. He told him two things. He wants a debt ceiling raised now so he doesn't have to worry about raising the debt ceiling and getting in that fight in June when he becomes president. He doesn't like the debt ceiling. He never has. He blew a hole in the deficit last time, and he doesn't want to deal with this as president. So he wants it done He wants this battle over the debt ceiling done now. Well, that has nothing to do with what they were doing with the CR. That's a whole different fight. So now, along with all the other problems that they were dealing with trying to get the CR passed, he now wants to add this new layer of raising the debt ceiling. And the people who don't want to do that are far right people. So the far right people who hate all the spending in this also hate what Trump wants to do right now, which is raise the debt ceiling. The second thing he told Jonathan Karl this afternoon was that in his mind, who gets the blame for a government shutdown? The person who is the president at the time. So what he said is, if we're going to have this fight and we have to shut the government down, I want it done now while Biden is president, so he will get the blame instead of it being done when I'm president where I will get the blame. So for him, it's not really about what's best for the country. No. It never is. It's about who gets the blame.
Yeah, and I would put Donald Trump and Elon Musk in that category. When they make decisions, they're out for their own personal interest, not everyday people. As you eloquently pointed out on social media, you said, I knew it was going to be a blank show, but I didn't expect it to be a blank show a month before he even takes office. I mean, look at where we're at right now. It really is crazy. And it's interesting. If you're just joining us, by the way, Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch, a story that's now kind of swept under the rug, which was a huge story yesterday, Ron. You guys talked about it at Midas Touch. The fact that this Matt Gaetz report will most likely become public within a few weeks. This is a huge story because, first of all, we know it's going to be a damning report. It's why Matt Gaetz has done everything he could to try to withhold this from the American people being able to see this. And it'll also, raise the questions. Look at all the people that have supported Matt Gaetz. So this is a story that people forgot about. And it was just yesterday that we learned that behind closed doors, a lot of Republicans voted to show this to the American people, to make it public.
This was Kevin McCarthy's revenge. Matt Gaetz got rid of drove Kevin McCarthy out of the speakership, led the rebellion, because Kevin McCarthy wouldn't axe this ethics investigation. That's what, in other words, when McCarthy was running for speaker, everybody went in there with their little wish list of what they wanted. I want to sit on this committee. I want to do that. I want to be on Ways and Means, whatever. Matt Gaetz wanted one thing from Kevin McCarthy. He wanted him to kill the ethics investigation of him because he knew how bad it was. And McCarthy said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to interfere with their work. The speaker is not supposed to interfere with their work. He's supposed to stay out of it. And I'm not going to get involved. And so what did Matt Gaetz do? Brought the motion to vacate a few months later, and McCarthy's gone. But McCarthy has friends, good friends, on the ethics committee. And what happened here was, I have no doubt that McCarthy made a few phone calls to those friends, because this can't pass without Republican votes. There's not enough Democrats on the ethics committee for this to pass. So some Republicans, we'll never know who, but some Republicans voted in secret to release this report. And I believe the ones who did that were friends of Kevin McCarthy. So I think this was mutually assured destruction. Gaetz got McCarthy out of the house, and now McCarthy got Gaetz out of the house. They killed each other.
Ron, as bad as this report might be, and we'll have to wait and see, will it still stop a guy like a Matt Gaetz to run for governor one day in the state of Florida?
Yeah, because I think it's going to be that bad.
Really?
I mean, he already knows it's going to be that bad, because the statement that he put out yesterday morning,
right,
wasn't a great statement. He's like, basically like, okay, I admit that I
partied.
It kind of looks bad. Like, I might have done some drugs. I might have did some prostitution. I might have sent some girls some money. What
was up with that? Ron, what was up with that statement? I've dated a lot of girls for years, he said, and I've sent them money on Venmo. That's a normal thing. That's sending a bunch of women money on Venmo is not what normal dudes do. Sounds like something that dudes do that buy hookers. That's just my opinion.
And he even said, and I sent some money to women or girls through Venmo that I did not have sex with. So that's his explanation for why a 17-year-old was getting Venmo'd thousands of dollars. Is that he has to throw that in. He said, well, I had sex with some of the girls I sent money to, women I sent money to, but not all of them, because he doesn't want to admit that he had sex with the 17-year-old he sent money to. So, and the funny part is, so he basically like admits to all that stuff, except for the having sex with a minor. He has the one caveat of that, but admits to everything else, admits to like showing naked videos of his sexual conquests on the floor of the House to other members, admits to that, which Markwayne Mullin ratted him out on that, senator from Oklahoma. But he ends it with, but at least my voting record was good. At least I wouldn't have voted for the CR. So what he's saying is, yeah, I was pretty much a scumbag, but I voted right.
Ron, this was a guy, if Donald Trump had his way, would be the attorney general. I mean, it's scary to even think that. And when you look at some of the other appointees, where we're headed, I mean, do you feel, I don't think I've ever asked you this, like somebody like a Tulsi Gabbard, who I've said time and time again is a Russian asset for so many different reasons, who has refused to call it Assad. I believe she's in the same boat as many of these MAGA Republicans, doesn't want Ukraine to win this war. Do you think somebody like her gets approved for this position? And I mean, do you think she somehow finds a way?
I think she is in the most trouble. If I had to rank them, I'd say she's got a problem. Based on what I'm hearing from a lot of the old guard Republicans, she's got a problem. I think that number 2 is Hegseth after her that has a problem. And I think 3 is Kash Patel. I think RFK is going to get confirmed. And the reason why, I just read an article by Slate that came out about an hour ago on RFK, where the Slate reporter talked to Democrats, Senate Democrats, about RFK. And basically what he said, that none of them would go on record except for Elizabeth Warren, and none of the Senate Democrats gave a hard no to RFK. And basically what the reporting was like, look, what they told him was, look, we agree with RFK on like 90% of things that he believes in. We agree with him. We disagree strongly on 10%, but we agree with RFK on more things than we agree on with any of the other Trump nominees on stuff. Mm-hmm. So, but what they said is they don't want to be the deciding vote. In other words, what they don't want is, they don't want 49 Republicans backing RFK, and they don't want to be the one Democrat that puts him over the top. So what I think this is going to play out is, if RFK gets 50 Republicans committed, then you're going to see like 20 Democrats vote for him.
Interesting.
That's what's going to happen.
I mean, that is true. He sides with Democrats on a lot of different issues. We all know that he's a conspiracy theorist, and we don't have to go down that road when it comes to vaccines and, staging bear murders in Central Park. We know he's a little crazy. He's probably a lot crazy, but Democrats do have a point there. They probably do agree with him on far more issues than they would any of these MAGA Republicans right now. So that makes sense to me. Mr. Ron Filipowski, always a pleasure for Midas Touch having you on the show. Before we let you go, what are you working on today?
Oh man, my daily recap column on Substack today is going to be epic. I mean, I work on this thing 14 hours a day. I start usually at like 5:30 in the morning and finish at 7. And this one, like literally, like normally, let me just tell you how I do this real quick.
Sure.
When I wake up, I go over like what has happened since I've been sleeping. So basically, like what has happened at like 1, 2, 3 in the morning, which is usually not much, right? It's just a few things.
Yeah.
It took me 5 hours to type up the stuff that happened while I was sleeping.
It all happened at 4 a.m. Yeah.
So
yeah.
All hell broke loose. So it hasn't stopped. So tonight's column, which is going to be on my Substack, which will be posted on social media, is going to be one for the ages. I can tell you, it's pretty wild.
Cannot wait to read it, Ron. You're the best. Always love your work, and appreciate the time, my friend. We'll catch up with you next week, and look forward to reading that article. Have a good rest of your day, my friend. Don't work too hard. Okay. Right. Take care, Ron. Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch, hardworking guy, one of the best in business. It's why he has such a huge following. And as I always say, he is probably my favorite follow on social media. I have a lot of people that I love following. Ron Filipowski's right up there, man. He is one of the best. Love what he does. No doubt about it. All right. So, as I mentioned to start the show, it appears as though there very well might be a government shutdown. The government-funded plan negotiated by Speaker Mike Johnson, who was probably on his way out the door, and many Republicans would say, don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out, was scrapped yesterday. Funding negotiations are continuing. Meanwhile, key choices for Trump's cabinet are back on Capitol Hill this week. We haven't even gotten into that yet, where his defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, who Democrats argued not qualified due to his past behavior, will have a confirmation hearing on January 14th. There is a lot going on. But while all this stuff is going on, Dan Crenshaw, who I've never been a fan of, certainly I respect his service to this country, but I've never been a fan. This is one person and one issue where I actually agree with a lot of MAGA Republicans on. I think he's a scumbag. And as in this bill, there's a lot of things that bother me as well. I'm not saying that all Republicans are wrong. You just don't wait until 72 hours out to complain about it. But Congress has a 13% approval rating, and they are asking for a $70,000 raise. Dan Crenshaw recently did a podcast, and he started bitching about pay, and he made it sound like he's homeless. Have a listen to this.
Sure. Yeah. Why not? Don't let us trade stocks. How about we'll just keep whipping ourselves. How about we don't make any money either? How about like just cut our paychecks? We haven't gotten a pay raise since 2008. Even a COLA increase. So yeah, no, actually, no. Yeah, this is a great idea. Let's make Congress a place where only the millionaires can actually afford to do the job. This is a wonderful idea.
It's interesting because Dan Crenshaw is a millionaire. His net worth is somewhere around $1.5 million. His stocks have gone through the roof. Wouldn't surprise me if he was a part of insider trading. I don't know if that's true or not. Allegedly, the claims are out there. Don't know. Dan Crenshaw is not poor. He has a lot of money. I think most people that say their net worth is upwards of $1.5 million would mean that they probably have a decent amount of money. Dan Crenshaw is an idiot. And if you don't believe me, go on his social media to see what he spends his time during the day going after trolls on X. You're supposed to be governing, you jackass. You're making almost close to $200,000 a year. That's way above the average salary in this country. And you guys have a 13% approval rating. He should be happy he has a job. Now, I have criticisms for Democrats as well when it comes to this issue, but this is what Hakeem Jeffries had to say when they held a press conference yesterday.
House Republicans have now unilaterally decided to break a bipartisan agreement that they made. House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans all across this country. House Republicans will now own any harm that is visited upon the American people that results from a government shutdown or worse. An agreement is an agreement.
I don't necessarily disagree with Hakeem Jeffries. If they had all these issues, then why didn't you discuss it when you were putting the bill together? It's been months. Same thing with the border bill. Why is it always the MAGA Republicans that the last second, nope, can't do that border bill, even though you had MAGA Republicans that helped put it together with Democrats? Same thing with this bill. You can disagree with the bill all you want until the cows come home. Guess what? You don't do it 72 hours before a possible government shutdown. So I understand the frustration when it comes to Hakeem Jeffries. Do I agree with everything in this bill? No, but guess what? I'm not the one that negotiated it. The Republicans are the ones that put Mike Johnson in power. That's your fault. That's your fault. I'm not saying Kevin McCarthy would have done a better job, but that's your fault. You have nobody to blame but yourselves. And I do have some criticism for Democrats as well. Listen, I like Dick Durbin. I actually think he's a decent man, but boy, does he sound complicit. He was asked questions, and I think Manu Raju is one of the best reporters on Capitol Hill. He challenges Democrats and Republicans. He's one of the best in the business. Not like these morons like Laura Loomer who just chase people down and ask them the dumbest possible questions you can. Manu Raju is one of the best. He starts questioning Dick Durbin, particularly about this $70,000 raise when Congress has a 13% approval rating. I thought Dick Durbin really sounded like a clown yesterday. Have a listen to this.
Members are giving themselves a pay raise. Do you guys deserve a pay raise?
Well, that's news to me. It's good news. You know, what has it been, 10 years or 14 years and no COLA, no change at all? I think it's about time something's done.
You support giving yourself a pay raise?
It is. How would I not know about a pay raise?
But I mean, people look at the performance of Congress and say, why should we give them more money?
What about the media? Think about that for a second.
And we're not paid by public money.
I know you're not, but I mean, half of your listeners are not there anymore. You're still getting the same paycheck? What's going on?
Well, I mean, your taxpayer money. I mean, you guys deserve a raise.
What a moronic thing that Dick Durbin just said. First of all, he sounded like a MAGA moron Republican attacking the media there. First of all, the media is not public funded, you jackass. Yes, I'm going to call Dick Durbin a jackass. At least he sounded like one yesterday. We are talking about taxpayer money. We are talking about a 13% approval rating. Why on earth, when you're getting paid through taxpayer money with a 13% approval rating, should you be getting a raise? And Dick Durbin says, well, geez, I didn't know anything about that. Oh, hogwash. Are we led to believe that Dick Durbin did not know that they were implementing, if this bill had passed, which it has not, a $70,000 raise, and we're led to believe that Dick Durbin didn't know? He didn't know? First of all, I think he's lying. Okay, let me be very clear on that. I think Dick Durbin is a liar. I think he's lying, number one. Number two, he knows nothing about how the media works. See, we have something called contracts in the media, and we are not public funded. Now, if something in a contract says that if the ratings go down to a certain level, we're going to pay you blah, 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 blah. Some contracts are written out like that, then that's fine. The media is not public funded. At least CNN is not public funded. And Dick Durbin, trying to make an analogy and trying to deflect and pivoting, makes him sound like a clown that he is. And I lost a lot of respect for Dick Durbin. No, let me be clear on this. I do not believe anybody in Congress deserves a raise when they have a 13% approval rating. If you were working, forget about let's talk about the private sector for a moment and just try to make an analogy. And hopefully it's a better analogy than the analogy that Dick Durbin was trying to make about the media. If you were working for a company, a large company, and you guys were underperforming, and the company, let's just say, was underperforming by 87%. Why do I come up with that figure? Because, again, Congress has a 13% approval rating. Who, by the way, is giving them an approval of that 13%? I'm just curious. But let's just say your company was down 87% with productivity, whatever word you want to use. And your employees said they wanted a $70,000 raise when they're almost getting $200,000 a year. Is there any CEO of any Fortune 500 company that would approve that? Is there anybody that would say, boy, that makes complete sense? No, of course not. Now, I'm talking about the private sector. Now, listen, if they wanted to give Congress better health benefits, if they wanted to give them a 2% rate, whatever, something like that, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But it doesn't make any sense to me with a 13% approval rating. I'm going to make a sports analogy now for you. And some of you women out there might not like what I have to say if you're fans of the WNBA, but I'm going to say it anyway. This, to me, is just as outrageous as WNBA players saying that they deserve a raise. Why do I say that? Because 27 years in a row, the league has lost money. Yes, even with the Caitlin Clark frenzy, and I love Caitlin Clark, don't get me wrong, the league still lost tens of millions of dollars. What company that has lost money year after year, their employees demand a raise? I would call them imbeciles. I would say the same about members of Congress with a 13% approval rating. Oh, I got to buy a place to live in New York and D.C. I can't afford it. Hey, bozos, you're making almost $200,000 a year. That's your fault. So, no. I understand that there's a lot of stuff in this bill that a lot of Republicans and Democrats probably don't agree with. But here's the bottom line. If Elon Musk and Donald Trump truly cared about the American people, and if Elon Musk and Donald Trump truly cared about getting the pork out of this bill that they claim they hate, then why would they wait to the last second to bitch and complain about it? They've been on text threads with Mike Johnson. They've been hanging out with Mike Johnson in person constantly. You don't think they knew that this was coming? If you truly cared, President Musk and Vice President Donald Trump, if you truly cared about getting the pork out of this bill, why did you wait 72 hours before a possible government shutdown? I think for starters, they love chaos. They're not serious people. They're certainly not serious lawmakers. Elon Musk with no experience. Just because he has a lot of money, I don't care. They're not serious. They did the same thing with the border bill. They're doing the same thing now with this bill. Yes, Mike Johnson is probably on his way out the door. Elon Musk or President Musk, maybe he'll be the next House Speaker. I have no idea. I don't know. All what I do know is this is a you-know-what show. They're not serious. These MAGA Republicans are not serious lawmakers. Many of them are not. And if they truly cared about getting the pork out of this bill, then they certainly would have raised questions a long time ago. It takes months to put a bill like this together. They don't care. They want chaos. They probably want Mike Johnson out the door, and they probably figured this was the best way to get it done, to create chaos. That's exactly what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen. So here's what we are going to do. We are going to take a break. And then on the other side of the break, I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Your thoughts on President Musk and Vice President Donald Trump. Your thoughts on this bill getting scrapped yesterday. Do you think there's going to be a government shutdown? What do you think about some Republicans claiming that Elon Musk should be the next House Speaker? Why do you think that Donald Trump and President Musk waited this long to do this? What's your reasoning behind it? And I don't care whether you're a MAGA Republican or a Democrat. There's a lot of MAGA Republicans out there that are very upset at Mike Johnson as well. But he's a fool. Just like Kevin McCarthy was a fool with no backbone. Same thing with Mike Johnson and his accountability partners. I knew this guy was a weirdo and a snake from day one. I guess you MAGA Republicans didn't, did you? Number to call, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you do want to be a part of the conversation. We just had Ron Filipowski on from Midas Touch who kind of laid it out. He said yesterday he didn't think there was going to be a government shutdown. Today he's changing his tune. We're talking about Dan Crenshaw having a mental episode and a breakdown on social media, crying about how he doesn't make enough money. Screw you, Dan Crenshaw. Listen, I respect anybody's service to this country, but that doesn't make you a tough guy. It doesn't mean that you're right all the time. Okay? I think Dan Crenshaw's full of it. That's what I think. Number to call, 702-221-7283. We want to remind all you guys, the official gaming bar of the Pushing the Limits radio show is Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. The Pass the Puck contest during Vegas Golden Knights games, you have a chance to win up to $500 in free slot play. You can't really beat that. Great promotions, including every Monday and Wednesday this month. If you earn 300 points playing a machine, you get a free bottle of wine. How cool is that? Please check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this with your phone calls at 702-221-7283. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. I would ask any of you, since this is an independently owned radio show, we rely on people like you to keep the lights on here, support what we do, besides subscribing to my YouTube page, which would be very helpful, and we'd appreciate it, at PTL Radio Show. I think we're at like 52,000 followers now. I think we passed 52,000 today. Very appreciative of that. You get extra content on there, too, every day. Subscribe at PTL Radio Show. It's free. Go to my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, it's pushingthelimits.live. Go on the website. You can buy merchandise out there, shirts, hats, beanies, some PTL gear. And on top of the PTL gear, there is also a donate button on the front page. Whatever you can afford, we appreciate that, and we appreciate your support in advance of what we do. What we are talking about today, and we just had Ron Filipowski on from Midas Touch, there could be a government shutdown. Why? Well, because President Musk, I want to be respectful. President Musk and Vice President Donald Trump decided they don't like the bill 72 hours before the possible government shutdown. They knew what was going to be in this bill. They're in text threads with Mike Johnson. They know exactly what's going on here. But they waited until the last second, and now because of that, America will suffer. And during the holidays is the worst time for this to happen. We have a lot of federal employees all over the country. And of course, public servants who rely on their paychecks. You think Elon Musk and Donald Trump, you think they care? Of course they don't. They only care about their own bottom line. That's all they care about. Am I wrong? 702-221-7283. Let's start off with Shay. Shay is first up on PTL. Hey, Shay, what's going on?
What's going on, Brian? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I haven't called into your show in about a couple months, man. I will say this, man. I look at this whole situation, Brian, and I just look at, people are going to get what they deserve. You voted for a convicted felon. You voted for a twice impeached felon. And this is what's going to happen, man. I look at also the Democratic Party, Brian, and I just saw your segment about Dick Durbin, about him kind of faking like he knew he was going to get a pay raise.
Right.
But, man, there needs to be a serious overhaul with this Democratic Party because what we're about to go up against with this Trump administration, a lot of these Democrats need to leave office. Based on how they're acting, how they're talking, they think, and they continue to treat this man like he's a normal politician.
Yeah.
They keep treating these people up on here like they're normal politicians. And I'm curious. I would like to ask you something.
Sure.
I know this is down the road, but do you believe? I've been trying to ask you this. Do you think the Democrats need an outsider to come in and try to change the strategy and how this Democratic Party legislate leadership?
Well, let me
I
tell
think
you.
they need to go for John Stewart.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I like Jon Stewart a lot, and I think he'd be able to work with Republicans. But I'm going to give you a name of somebody that's already in office, and he's a personal friend of mine. He's done this show before. He's run for president. No, I'm not talking about Joe Walsh. I'm talking about Seth Moulton. The guy has, tried to get Nancy Pelosi's seat. He's fair. He's honest. He's a war hero. And he was one of the first people that said Joe Biden needs to step down. And listen, people can go back and say, oh, that might have been a mistake. No, it was a mistake that he stepped down too late. That's my opinion. Seth Moulton is exactly the kind of guy that the Democrats need. But they don't vote for Seth Moulton.
What kind of Democrat is he?
I consider him to be a moderate Democrat that is fair. He was also one of the first to come out on the left, and he got criticized by the left for saying, I don't want my daughters on the playing field with transgender women. And the Democrats, Republicans want to use the term woke. I don't like to use that term, but there were Democrats out there that were going after Seth Moulton. Seth Moulton is fair. He's willing to criticize Democrats. He's fairly young. He's very intelligent, and he's a war hero. The Democrats need more people like Seth Moulton and less people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer.
I got to ask you something.
Yeah.
I got to ask you one more question, Brian. What do you make? I think this is a fair point. Do you think when we look at Joe Biden's presidency, do you think everything he did, his administration brought the economy back up. But I think the biggest flaw of his presidency was the DOJ and how they handled Donald Trump.
Oh, it was a joke.
That's what he's going to be looking. I think that's what he's going to be. Oh, I think that's what he's going to be remembered by, Brian.
Well, Merrick Garland.
And I would like to know what is your take. What is your take on Merrick Garland?
Merrick Garland is an absolute embarrassment. He's a coward, is what he is, and he has done an F- job. Merrick Garland is a coward. I can't be any more clear than that. Donald Trump should be in jail by now. And they slow-walked these cases for the reasonings that I still don't understand. Merrick Garland is a coward. And in my personal opinion, it's one of Joe Biden's biggest failures. 702-221-7283. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Pam. Pam is next up on PTL. Hey, Pam, what's going on?
Good afternoon. Hey, Brian. Nobody in federal should get a raise until they do something about the federal minimum wage increases.
Right.
$7.25 is not enough money for us to pay for their wage increases.
Agree. Isn't it interesting, Pam, that these are the people that want a $70,000 raise? And by the way, I'm not just blaming Republicans. I'm blaming some Democrats as well. Some of these Democrats don't want to raise minimum wage either. Now, you'll find more Democrats that are willing to raise minimum wage than Republicans. Don't get me wrong. But these are the same people that would be okay with a $70,000 raise. Are you effing kidding me? They have a 13% approval rating. We need to be Americans here and try to come together, at least on this issue. Okay?
Absolutely.
Congress does not deserve a raise. Can we all agree on that, Republicans and Democrats? Can we at least agree on something?
Absolutely, I agree.
They don't deserve a raise. In fact, they deserve a pay cut. Let's cut them. Let's cut them.
How many vacations did they take this year? How many shutdowns?
Thank you. Yeah, you know what? Why doesn't Elon Musk talk about that? You know, he'll complain about the spending in this bill. President Musk. I'm sorry, I keep getting his name wrong. President Musk and Vice President Donald Trump. Why don't they just say it out loud? Nobody should be getting a raise in government right now in office. Nobody, not one person. In fact, they want to talk about budget cuts and where do we get? Let's start with Congress. Let's cut their funding a little bit. And let's give them a 25% pay cut. When was the last, they want to whine and bitch and complain. Oh, we haven't had a raise in 14 years. Really? When was the last time they cut your pay? Let's start doing that. Let's cut your pay 25%. And you know what? If we start that conversation, they're not going to ask for a raise for a very long time. I promise you that.
As they threaten to take my Social Security. Are you kidding me?
Well, those are the Republicans. Yeah. Those are the Mike Lee's idiots of the world that want to take your Social Security away. Thank you for the call, dear. Good to hear from you. Appreciate it. 702-221-7283. Can we come together, America, today, just for one day? It doesn't matter whether you're a MAGA Republican. It doesn't matter whether you're a far lefty Democrat. It doesn't matter whether you support Donald Trump or Rashida Tlaib. Can we all agree as Americans that Congress is not doing a good job, They have a 13% approval rating, and they don't deserve a raise. They deserve a pay cut. They certainly don't deserve a $70,000 a year raise. Can we all agree as Americans? Can we at least come together for one day and agree and not fight? This is an embarrassment. Congress is not getting the job done. This isn't just Brian Shapiro's opinion. It's your opinion. It's why they have a 13% approval rating. Let's cut their paychecks. Not all of them. I'm not saying they're working for free. Let's give them a 25% pay cut, huh? They still will be making six figures a year, which is far more money than the average American is making in this country. And so many of those people in office refuse to do anything about that. 702-221-7283. Can we agree as Americans? Forget about whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. Congress and those members of Congress do not deserve a pay raise. I would go the other route. They deserve a pay cut. Agree or disagree? Let's see. Who are we going to next here? Let's go to Carl. Carl is next on PTL. Hi, Carl.
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
Good.
Listen, I got 2 points. Really. The first point is I hope the Democratic Party is smart enough, because if there's a government shutdown and anybody interferes with Social Security checks and so forth, I collect Social Security, but luckily, thank God, I can live without it. But 3/4 of the elderly population cannot, and it's very important to them. And I hope the Democratic Party knows how to go after the people who cause this.
I agree. But Carl, let me ask you a question. Let's forget about the Democrat Party and the Republican Party for a moment to what I was just speaking of. Why can't Elon Musk and Donald Trump hold a press conference? Why can't President Musk and the Vice President Donald Trump hold a press conference? And why can't they just look at the American people and say something that we can all get behind, which is nobody in Congress should be getting a raise. In fact, I want some budget cuts, and I want to cut not just spending, but I want to cut maybe, I don't know, realistically, let's do a 3% or a 5% pay cut. And then you'd have Democrats and Republicans all over the country that maybe could get behind Donald Trump. But you see, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
But if they did that, they'd lose support.
Well, that's what it comes down to.
People.
Exactly.
And I have one more thing that I want to come up. I know you love Trump, but this is very important that the public hears this. You know what a business I was in before, and I did a psychological profile of both. I want you to listen to this real quick. Both Hitler and Trump. Hitler is a pathological lying egomaniac. Trump is also one. Both demanded their generals to be extreme loyalists, or else both did the same.
I hear it, Carl. Carl, I don't mean to interrupt, but I understand that Donald Trump has used similar verbiage to an Adolf Hitler. I don't think it's good moving the country forward, calling Donald Trump Adolf Hitler. I do think he has some evil dictator tendencies, and he writes love letters to evil, murderous dictators. I think there's a better way we can go about it than bringing up Adolf Hitler. That's my personal opinion, Carl, with all due respect, and I appreciate the call. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Miss Black. Miss Black is next up on PTL.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Good. So this is probably way to the left, but you asked why you think they waited till for the 20th. And I believe it has something to do with the executive order 13848 that Donald Trump had written in 2018. And it has something. Have you heard of that executive order?
I have.
Okay. So I really think because there's a report that's due tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't think they want that to come out. So that's my opinion. That's my
okay, so that could be. Here's my theory. I think they want Mike Johnson out. I don't think they've ever liked Mike Johnson. I don't think they get along with Mike Johnson. And I think this was an easy way for them to push Mike Johnson out and get somebody else in there. And if Elon, I'm not saying this is going to happen. It's possible. If somebody like an Elon Musk becomes the next House Speaker, then we'll know this is true. I think this was their way of outing out Mike Johnson, and I think he's toast. I think he's gone. That's my theory.
Yeah, I mean, that could be possible too. But if they shut down the government, this report, I don't know if it still can come out or not. But then if they're going to wait to reopen on his inauguration day, I don't know how this is going to happen. So,
well, you know what, Miss Black? Maybe we can get President Musk on the line, and maybe he can share with us what he thinks about this. But I'm not saying you're wrong. You have your theory. I have my theory. Both can be right, by the way. Doesn't have to be one thing, right? Both can be right, and I appreciate your call. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Tyrone. Tyrone is next up on PTL. What's up, Tyrone?
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Look, first of all, this is exactly what this country needs and the Democrats need. They need the crap show because they need to realize they've been playing with fire for too long, and now they're about to get what they asked for. Unfortunately, there's about 49.5% of us that's going to have to go along with the ride of the nonsense. Congress don't deserve a pay raise at all. If anything, they should be given EBT cards and told to get in line at the supermarket and use the EBT cards because they are a disaster. They have not passed one piece of legislation in 6 years that's going to help anybody's life.
I mean,
you know,
in general, I tend to agree with you, of course. I will say that there have been some bills that have been passed that have helped the American people. So I surely you would agree with me. There are some things that Joe Biden has done and the House have passed.
Oh,
yeah, but
yeah, there was some things that was done.
Sure.
But I'm sorry, Brian, but they were done at the cost of a really good bill. So you took a really good bill
I hear you.
and made it an okay bill.
I hear you.
Know,
I hear you.
Yeah.
Capping the cost of insulin at $35 for seniors, whether it be the infrastructure bill, which was bipartisan, a bill that Donald Trump claimed that he would try to pass and attempted to and never did. Gun legislation, bipartisan gun legislation, the most gun legislation put down bipartisan in decades. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris helped get that done. So there are some things that have been done that certainly I think are good, but I also agree with you in your sentiment, and that is why Congress has a 13% approval rating. So you're not wrong. All I'm simply saying in general terms is there are some bills that have been passed that I think we can all get behind. But as a whole, Congress has done next to nothing to help the American people, and I certainly agree with you there.
Absolutely. And one last point. We can't go forward with comparing Trump to Hitler. I am far from a Trump fan at all.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's ever anybody I want to see running down the street on fire, it's Donald Trump. But I will say this.
Yeah.
You can't compare him to Hitler because Hitler led to genocide of millions of people.
Right.
Trump is not he's not nowhere near that.
I agree. I agree, and I think we both agree. I do think it is fair to say that Donald Trump is a wannabe dictator. He admires dictators. Now, I'm not saying he wants to kill millions of people, and that's why I don't like to compare Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. But when you hear somebody like a Stephen Miller, and you hear Donald Trump use the term vermin, and you hear Stephen Miller, America is for Americans, those types of statements are very similar language to those that Adolf Hitler used. Does that mean I think Stephen Miller wants to execute 7 million people? No. Do I think Donald Trump wants to do that? No. But Donald Trump admires evil dictators, Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un. So I think it's fair to point that out. He admires really awful people. But yes, I agree. And as I said to the last caller, I think it's a little bit dangerous, and I don't think it's going to get the country anywhere when we keep comparing Donald Trump to Hitler. Trump is a liable sexual abuser, a misogynist pig who hung out with Jeffrey Epstein. He's a 34-count felon. He's a snake oil salesman who doesn't think that the law applies to him. He's probably the most insecure person on the planet. He gets up in the morning, he puts on his 8 layers of orange makeup and his 4 hair transplants and his fake tan and that stupid new haircut he has, if you've seen that. He's a horrific human being, and as Marco Rubio, who's going to be working in Donald Trump's administration, said it best, if he didn't get a $500 million company from daddy when he was a kid, then guess what? Donald Trump would probably be selling fake gold watches in Manhattan. But let's not compare him to Adolf Hitler. I think that, in my opinion, that's a step too far. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. And yes, there are people on social media that say, he's only a felon according to libtards. No, he's a felon according to the courts, you dummy. He's a convicted felon. A jury decided that he is a 34-count convicted felon. It is interesting and very convenient for some of you MAGA morons out there that when you get a conviction when it comes to a Hunter Biden or, for example, a Daniel Penny is found not guilty, the jury did their job. They did a great job. But then when your orange turd Cheeto Jesus is found guilty of 34 felony counts, all of a sudden it's not fair and it's a libtard thing. Some of the biggest morons that America has to offer are ones that talk like that. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Kim. Kim is next on PTL. What's up, Kim?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Everything you just said right. The last was absolutely just right, spot on, because that's exactly how they say it. When Trump was found guilty, oh, it was poor Trump. It was a rigged election,
Right.
rigged trial, and the other ones, oh, yeah, right on, they got it right. This makes me sick. But what I want to ask you, and please don't think I'm dumb, I've been trying to figure this one out. How is it legal for Elon Musk to
President Musk.
be
Let's call him.
President Musk,
Yeah,
okay,
President,
to be House Speaker, to be on anything in our government?
Yeah, it is.
It is?
They'll find a way. Yeah, it is. It is.
Jesus.
He does not have to be an elected official, and the president has authority to do so if he so chooses. Absolutely. It is interesting, isn't it, my dear? And by the way, I don't think you're stupid at all. I think that's a very smart question.
I read everything. I'm very intelligent. I
Sure.
read everything, and I keep myself up to everything.
Isn't it interesting? I want to ask you this. Isn't it
yeah.
interesting, my dear, that they complained, when I say they, I mean the MAGA Republicans and many of them bigots and racists. They complained that Kamala Harris wasn't elected, a duly elected official to become the next president of the United States. And we should have had this. First of all, she's elected as a senator. She was elected on the same ticket as Joe Biden. So they had a problem with Kamala Harris and what the Democrat Party did. In fact, they called it a threat to democracy. But they would have absolutely no problem than the Tesla moron, becoming the next House Speaker. Not one person ever voted him in for anything. The billionaire. Again, the definition of hypocrisy. We have an elected senator, an attorney general, an elected senator becomes the vice president on the winning ticket with Joe Biden. They had a problem with that, but Elon Musk could just become the real president of the United States. Let's just call it for what it is. All these MAGA Republicans that said Barack Obama is calling all the shots. Oh, really? Who do you think's calling all the shots now? It ain't Donald Trump. It definitely ain't JD Vance, the water boy. It's Elon Musk.
Well, let me tell you something. As a retired nurse, when I look, and please forgive me for saying this, I'm just going to tell you straight out. As a retired nurse of many years, when I look at Donald Trump is not long for this world. The man is sick. I'm telling you, the man is sick. They're hiding it. And I can give you many reasons, and sometime you and I will talk about it, but I'm telling you, they're hiding the man's health.
Well, I believe they are. I believe he's mentally ill. He's got a lot of, his father did a number on him. It is interesting, and thank you for the call, my dear. Good question you asked. It is interesting because people on social media are saying, well, Elon has a right to his opinion. Sure, we all have a right to our opinions. But you see, Elon Musk is a little bit more invested than your typical person who might call into the show or a radio host like myself. Elon Musk has literally made hundreds of billions of dollars already, and his stocks have gone through the roof with Tesla. And you can look up this stuff if you don't believe me, because Donald Trump has been elected or reelected and going back to the White House. This isn't just about a guy at the water cooler who has an opinion on something, or even somebody with a large social media platform that shares their takes. No, this is about the right-hand man to Donald Trump. I believe Elon Musk is calling the shots because he has his own self-interest, and it's about money and power. So it's not just about somebody having an opinion. It's about somebody that persuading others when it comes to law, when it comes to bills like this one, when it talks about human human beings, that a possible government shutdown that rely on their paychecks that aren't going to get them around the holidays. This isn't just about somebody, hey, I don't like this bill. This is my opinion. No, this is about somebody that is not only changing the course of history, but literally changing law in this country. And he's never been an elected official. If you don't find that dangerous, then at a minimum, you are complicit. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Maureen. Maureen is next up on PTL. What's up, Maureen?
Hi, Brian. This thing about giving them a raise, it's really sickening, and they should be ashamed of themselves. I'm on Social Security. 8 years ago, we got a raise. Then they raised Medicare.
Yeah.
And I think I got a big whopping $5 a month more. These people are getting $70,000 a year more.
Well,
for doing what?
Hopefully they won't. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's well, again, they have a 13% approval rating, and they're complaining about, oh my God, I've heard people on CNN last night that were complaining on a panel. Well, I used to have to buy a home here. I had a place to live here. Let me tell you something. Anybody in America that's getting close to $200,000 a year, if they have any intelligence, if they can't balance their own personal budget on almost a $200,000 a year salary on reasonable prices, a place to live, then you shouldn't be representing anybody, and you shouldn't be an elected official if you can't even balance your own personal budget.
Exactly. And you know what, too? They get free health care, free health insurance that is the best. And when they retire, that goes with them. Nobody gets that.
Right.
And, like Medicare doesn't pay for everything. So my husband and I have to take a secondary insurance.
Yeah.
And we have United Healthcare.
Oh, boy.
Anyway.
Oh, boy. Yeah, let's not go there. By the way, Luigi, I don't know if you saw, they helicoptered him in. I have a problem with that, but they helicoptered him in to New York, Manhattan today. Yeah, that's another story. But hey, listen, I wish you the best.
But you know what?
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
You know what?
Yeah.
One more thing. So my husband's 80. I'm 75. So we each have a different monthly payment because of our age.
Right.
Last year we were paying $650 between both of us.
Yep.
I just got a bill for January. It went up $150 more.
Oh, geez.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, my
and
there's a lot of bills that are going up. My car insurance is through the roof. But no, listen, I'm with you, and God bless you guys, 80 and 75. I want you to get the health care that you deserve. I want you to live in America where the elitists and the billionaires don't tell us what we should or shouldn't do because they're out for their own personal interest. I hear your frustration, and I'm with you. And you'll always have a platform on this show to call in, my dear. Have a good rest of your day. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. Hey, Paul. Thanks for calling in. What's up?
Hey, man. Brian, we live in an oligarchy right now. We just have to be honest about it. I mean, Elon Musk bought the presidency of the United States. He just did.
Yep.
Let's just be transparent.
Yep.
Just listen. The last caller is exactly why our system is completely broken. We have people that are making $7.25 an hour, working 2 jobs, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. They've got $150,000, $200,000 in credit card debt or school loans. They can't afford health care. Their insulin is too expensive. And these asshats are giving themselves both sides, Brian. I'm a Democrat. Screw them too. $70,000 a year. And they're going to ban TikTok before they ban guns to kill our children in schools.
That's a good point.
Like, here's the thing. I think that we need someone else that's not a Democrat or a Republican, if I'm really honest about it. So let's just hypothetically say someone like Paul Lance, like me, okay? I'm just a dude that works 9 to 5, 9 to 9, weekends. I worked at UPS. I worked at Taco Bell. I just care about people. I don't want to take money from corporations. I don't want to deal with Citizens United. I don't want to get money from Elon Musk or Peter Thiel. And that's what's happened is everybody that goes up there, think about this. Pelosi goes up there. Jeffries goes up there. Mike Johnson. They're all wearing $2,000 or $3,000 suits. They don't talk to people. They don't return phone calls. They don't return emails. They're giving themselves a raise. They won't make anybody's lives better except for themselves. It's not about the people anymore.
No, it's not.
Until we decide that we don't want to keep supporting this two-party system, we really have to put someone in there. Like, honestly, if I was to run, I would sit there on that first day in office, and I would sit in Congress days and weeks until somebody passed a gun legislation.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. They're not willing to do the hard work to do the things that are important. They're more focused on giving themselves a raise, transgenders in bathrooms, whining about one mass shooting about Lincoln Riley because it was an immigrant, or one mass shooting that was a trans person, or some other stupid Bud Light grievance or some other crap that's irrelevant. That's the problem is the government is not for the people anymore. It's about grievance. And
yeah. I would say, Paul, and this, some people might say this is an extreme example, but it's an example of what you are talking about and what I talk about every day. Nancy Mace is a perfect example. This is someone who is not a serious lawmaker. and she cares more about a coworker, a trans woman, going into a woman's restroom than she cares about gun control, than she cares about the American people. I'm sure she has no problem with a $70,000 raise. These are not serious lawmakers. They are noise makers. And listen, I have criticism to go around for the left as well. I mean, Dick Durbin embarrassed himself yesterday.
Let me say one more thing. And this is, listen, and I'm going to criticize both sides. I'm like you. Just because I'm a Democrat, that's the difference. I can criticize my party. I'm not in a cult like Republicans.
Right.
The fact that Nancy Pelosi stood in and opened her mouth and put a 70-year-old white guy with throat cancer above AOC is ridiculous.
Agree.
They need to put her in a goddamn museum and let her retire.
Let me be, Paul. I could not, Paul. I could not agree with you more. Let me be very clear on this. I am not a Nancy Pelosi fan. I never have been. I don't like Chuck Schumer. And if you want to blame partially reasoning behind Donald Trump getting voted back in, besides the people that voted for him, if you want to blame some people on the left, I don't start with Kamala Harris. Heck, I don't even start with her campaign staff. I start with Nancy Pelosi. And I agree with you. Nancy Pelosi needs to go away and retire. I'm sorry what happened to her husband. That's terrible. But Nancy Pelosi needs to retire. We need to get younger people in office that represent our core values, not somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who I personally believe allegedly might have done some insider trading. Nancy Pelosi and Dan Crenshaw probably have a lot of stories they could tell if they were being honest with the American people, which some of them are not. Let's just be honest about it. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff is next up on PTL. Hey, Jeff, what's going on?
What's happening, Brian? I got a few points because I want to get to the thing about new leadership with the Democratic Party, but the narrative about the Wisconsin shooter that flew out right away that was obviously nonsense. Can we just tell it like it is? This shooter's family, once again, white trash. Okay, now, both the Biden and Harris campaigns ignored loud, consistent concerns from the most credible source on youth political polling, and that would be John Della Volpe from Harvard. He's the director of polling. He's been telling both campaigns since 2020, actually, that young men are being ignored and left behind by the Democrats, and the bros have been leaning harder to the right for years. So, to that end, I was very pleased to see that David Hogg has thrown his hat into the ring to be vice chair of the DNC. He has said that when he brought up this issue of young men needing attention, he was scoffed at and scolded like a child, which sums up just how clueless the leadership is at the DNC.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Yeah, without getting into the whole gun stuff, because we're not doing that today, but I will say this. David Hogg is a very intelligent young man. I think he's very well-spoken, well-versed on a lot of different issues, not just gun control. And yeah, I think we need more younger people in office. I've been saying that for years on both sides. We need more younger people in office. We need more people that represent good representation of America. Obviously, the Republican Party is not doing that. The Democrat Party does a little bit of a better job, I would say, than the right does. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that just need to retire. I don't care if they're Supreme Court justices. That's probably more important than ever. But I just think there should be, again, a lot of people are going to, I think if you're over the age of 70, you should not be an elected official, period. I don't care whether you're in
Brian, having to watch Feinstein sit there was terrible.
Well, yeah, I don't.
What are we doing?
We do need term limits. I don't believe it. Listen, if you need to be of a certain age to be the president of the United States, I think there should be an age limit. What are we doing? What are we doing as a country, Jeff? I just don't understand. I appreciate the phone call. Give me a 30 to 70 window. Okay, you want to make it 30 years old? Listen, I think if you're 25 years old and you're very intelligent and educated, why shouldn't you be able to be the next president of the United States? But should you be allowed to be in your late 70s? No, I don't think so. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Bev. Bev is next on PTL. Hey, Bev, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. I'm just calling about, you mentioned President Musk earlier.
Yes.
I do believe he is the puppet master behind Trump. But I also think that if something happens to Trump, he'd have to be the puppet master behind Vance because he's not a natural born American. He's only been a U.S. citizen since like 2001 or something.
Correct.
So I don't think he can be president if this Canadian is right.
Yeah, that while that still might be true, I'm still calling him President Musk because I think he's calling the shots, number one. And number two, I think that'll drive Donald Trump crazy. So it's enjoyable. But at the same time, I say this with all seriousness. I think Elon Musk is the main reason why this bill was scrapped yesterday. I really believe that.
I believe that for sure.
Tremendous control over what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now, especially with the far right. Tremendous control. And I think Donald Trump understands that Elon Musk is one of the main reasons why he won re-election. So
is it going to piss Trump off enough that he does something about Elon, or can he not do anything about Elon to get rid of him now?
So I don't think that's going to happen now, but I think it's only a matter of time. The relationship is a ticking time bomb. It never ends well for people that are close to Donald Trump. They either end up in jail, they become convicted felons, they need a pardon. This is not going to end well for Elon Musk and Donald Trump. I'm pretty confident when I say that. 6 months, a year, I'd be shocked if the relationship lasted that long. But he's not.
Okay.
Donald Trump is not even in the White House yet. And look at what has been happening here in the last couple weeks. It's a mess, and he's not even governing yet. And it's a mess. So,
yeah, I'm sorry, but Canada is some of Canada is scared, some of Canada is laughing at you. But the U.S., not you.
I bet they are. I bet they are. I bet they are. And I don't. Quite frankly, my dear, I don't blame them. What is going on in Washington, D.C., what an embarrassment to the country. And now it looks like we will probably have a government shutdown. I mean, really, is Vivek Ramaswamy the guy that you want to hear from? A guy who spent a career making boatloads of money selling drugs, most of which didn't even work, to the pharmaceuticals so they could overcharge us for crappy drugs. That's really how Vivek Ramaswamy made his gazillion dollars, right? Now, he's not as rich as Elon Musk, but he's got a lot of money. And this is the guy that we want to hear from to tell us what's in this bill. I could care less what Vivek Ramaswamy thinks about anything. He's a snake, Vivek Ramaswamy. He's a snake and he's a liar with no backbone and kisses the ring of Donald Trump like so many others that have a lot of money in this country do. Jeff Bezos is another perfect example of what I'm talking about. Jeff Bezos for years has been calling out Donald Trump. He knows exactly who Donald Trump is, but he keeps it inside. And he starts to praise Donald Trump because he knows his bottom line is more important than being honest and having decency. Jeff Bezos knows it. Mark Zuckerberg knows it. And any of these other CEOs of any of these Fortune 500 companies, they all know what a scumbag Donald Trump is. They all know what a sleazebag he is, what a horrible human being he is, the criminality. They know it all. But why does Jeff Bezos kiss his ass? Because he knows he needs Donald Trump. Just like Elon Musk has needed Donald Trump. And Donald Trump needed Elon Musk to win. I truly believe that. Number to call is 702-221-7283. Again, the number to call is 702-221-7283. Let's go to Linda. Linda's next up on PTO. Hey, Linda, what's going on?
Hi, Brian.
Hey.
I'm glad to talk to you again. I'm from Massachusetts. And, hey, first I want to say happy holidays to you.
Thank
because
you.
I'm sure I'll never get in next week.
Thank you. Same to you.
You know, I agree with you so much. I watch you I listen to you, I should say. And I do watch you every single day. And you are the only person on this entire planet that gives me any hope because you tell it like it is. You state facts. Everything is so important. And you know what? We've got the country right now in such a mess that I'm just praying I can get through the next 4 years because you're absolutely right. We got Dumb and Dumber running the country and there's Three Stooges on the side. It's ridiculous. No decisions are really thought through. No one cares about the middleman and the poor. Forget it. They're done. The middleman that's going to be the poor now because you're going to have rich and poor. They're going to be two classes.
Unfortunately,
And if you're not in the rich class,
yeah, let's talk about the rich class for a moment, if I may, Linda. There are some very wealthy people in this country that I believe that are on the right side of history. I have a lot of respect for Mark Cuban. And there are some billionaires in this country that don't mind losing money if it means for the good of the American people. But let's be very honest here. And I know some of these people personally, by the way, that have a lot of money. There are a lot of people in this country that have a lot of money that are extremely selfish, and they didn't become rich by helping everybody. They became rich by being selfish and caring about only themselves. Elon Musk is I have nothing nice to say about this guy. And people say, oh, he's a smart guy. Well, yeah, obviously he's not stupid. Okay. He made a lot of money. One of the richest men in the world. He's not stupid, but that doesn't mean he's a good guy. You know, I want to be very clear on this, Linda, and you can tell me what you think about this. To me, what really matters is what they say on your gravestone, right? It doesn't say on your gravestone how much money you had. It doesn't say on your gravestone that you made, cars where you don't need to drive or driverless cars, right? It's not going to say anything like that on Elon Musk's gravestone. What's really important and what's most important in life, at least, and this is my opinion, you're a good father, you're a good husband, you're a good son, you're a good family man. Elon Musk's own trans daughter hates him. He's a bad father. He has certainly set a bad example on being a family man. Same goes for Donald Trump. It doesn't matter, and I could care less how much money somebody has. That means nothing to me. Just because you're extremely wealthy doesn't mean you're a good person. It doesn't mean you have a good heart. It doesn't mean you have empathy for people. Heck, in some cases, it doesn't even mean you're a good businessman. Now, obviously, Elon knows what he's doing. He's a very intelligent businessman. But the people out there that say that Donald Trump is this brilliant businessman makes me laugh. It's like saying Kyrie Irving is a great great geography teacher when he says the earth is flat. Trump was given a $500 million company from his dad. Look at all of his companies that have filed for bankruptcy. Look at all the companies that he put his name on it that have gone down under. Look at the way he's lived his life. Donald Trump is not a good businessman. He's not a good person, but he's good at manipulating stupid people. Donald Trump is good at manipulating the media. He's good at manipulating and lying to people on a daily basis until they eventually believe it, and they buy his stupid Bibles. They buy his trading cards. They buy his steaks. I don't think a lot of people bought his steaks or his water. Those are businesses that went down under. He's not a good businessman. He is the most insecure person and probably one of the most mentally deranged and insecure people that you will ever find in this country. And so when it comes down to rich people, doesn't necessarily mean you're smart. Doesn't necessarily mean you're a good businessman. Doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything to help the American people. There's a lot of wealthy people in this country. Look at they take up 98% of what we have in this country. So a lot of rich people in this country are not doing us any favors. There are some people that are. Like I said, I named Mark Cuban. He's one of them. He does things to help people. For example, his new pharmaceutical
Warren
company.
Buffett.
Yeah, sure. There are people out there. Absolutely. There are people out there that have done some good things for people in this country that are wealthy people. Absolutely. And then I look at like Sheldon Adelson's wife. I've met them. Sheldon Adelson passed away years ago. His wife donating tons of money to the Trump campaign. Why would she do that? Why would she do that? Tell you why she's done that. And I've had arguments with people about this all the time because she cares about her own bottom line. Okay. That's why. So I've just had it with, some of the wealthiest in this country, and we're supposed to look up to them like they're brilliant Rhodes scholars. Well, guess what? They're not. They're not. And Donald Trump is a perfect example of that. You still there?
Born with a silver spoon doesn't make you.
Yep.
Yes. Born with a silver spoon doesn't make you intelligent. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes you privileged.
Well, look at Don and Eric Trump. I would call them. I would call them Uday and Kusei. Look at his stupid sons, Eric and Donald Trump Jr. What the hell have they done to help people except steal money from their own charity? What the hell have they done? Ivanka Trump making upwards of $600 million when her father was president from Chinese trademarks. Jared Kushner, who is probably one of the biggest imbeciles to ever sit in that position underneath the president, who received $2.1 billion from the Saudis and has burned his father's money. These are imbeciles. These are never was imbeciles. His father gave $5 million to Harvard so that he can get into Harvard. Does anybody think Jared Kushner is this brilliant guy who got into Harvard because he's such a brilliant guy with the grades? Give me a frickin' break. Give me a break. 702-221-7283. Again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. I have people on social media that, what about Hunter Biden? Hunter Biden never worked in Joe Biden's administration, you doofus. Hunter Biden never had a job in Joe Biden's administration. Did Hunter Biden take advantage of who his father is and make $50,000 a month or whatever it was from Burisma? Yes, absolutely. But one thing I will say about Hunter Biden is that he's paid for his mistakes. He's actually been convicted. And he is a better person, a better father, and I am sure a better husband than any of those morons in Donald Trump's family. I will tell you that. And at least Hunter Biden comes from a family where his brother served honorably. At least Hunter Biden comes from a family where they talk about grief. They have empathy for others. Say what you want about Joe Biden. The man has empathy for people. And I have frustrations with Joe Biden today, but the man has empathy for people. He's a decent human being. Look me with a straight face and tell me you think Donald Trump is a decent man who has empathy for others. If you claim that he does, then you are an imbecile and you are part of the cult. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Again, that number is 702-221-7283. Let's go to Jason. Jason is next. Hello, Jason.
Hey, brother. How you doing? So I just want to apologize and say I am a transporter for elderly and people that need to go to dialysis and came from operations, rehab, home hospice, stuff like that. So when I call and I hang up, it's only because I might have to go pick up a patient.
Don't worry about it, my friend. It's all good.
I just want to hear your synopsis more than anything, because I love to hear what your opinions are.
Sure.
But more than anything, this is what I want to say. Number one, Congress, the Congress that's in right now was the do-nothing Congress. They put in the less bills. Other than what Joe Biden did, the Republican Party did nothing. And for them to get a raise is a joke. Let me not go to my work for almost a year and still want a raise. That's number one. Number two, Elon Musk is from South Africa, and what he wants to do is bring apartheid to America, not for color, but for rich and poor. That's what he's trying to do. That's why he bought the presidency, because he grew up in South Africa. He knows what apartheid looks like, and he wants to create it here. And Donald Trump is just a puppet. He ain't got no brain. He ain't smart. Elon Musk could outsmart him 5 times more. And last but not least, Elon didn't invent anything. He didn't invent the Tesla car. He just used engineers to do it. That's how he got rich. He just invested in people that did things for him.
Right.
And
I agree.
Look at X.
Yep.
And look at X. He put $44 million in and lost most of it. So he deserves everything he gets.
And speaking of X, Jason, Elon Musk is now saying to some of his users on X, many of them who have fled since the election, that you guys are the media now, talking about his users on X. Let me be very clear on something. The overwhelming majority of idiots on social media, like the Laura Loomers of the world, that's an extreme example, but there are so many morons on X and social media that call themselves journalists. When they can't spell the word, they certainly have no college degree. These are people that don't even do interviews. And if they do an interview, they certainly don't interview the other side. And they call themselves journalists. I see some of these people that say, oh, well, I'm self-employed. I'm a journalist. Oh, really? According to who? That's like me saying I'm a professional basketball player because I can shoot baskets. I mean, really, but it's true. If I went on a basketball court today, now don't get me wrong, I can shoot. But I am
New York, so if you get on the court, I break your ankles.
You probably
don't even get on the court.
But probably would.
I got something for you for the Christmas season. Ho 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 to Bobert, Green, and Mace. Because when they're shut down, we can look at you and all your MAGA people that don't get no check for Christmas, and the government shut down and you can't fly to grandma. You MAGAs voted for it. Ho, ho, ho. Put a coal in your stocking. How about that?
Thanks, Jason, for the phone call. I appreciate it. Ho, ho, ho. Think about this for a moment. I'm making a fair analogy here. Those of you MAGAs that disagree with me, go right ahead. Elon Musk says for users that are on his platform X, which is a cesspool, by the way, of bigotry and hatred and misinformation, you're the media now. And they forget about great journalists and people like Dan Rather and Walter Cronkite and Barbara Walters, people that I grew up with. Real journalists who interview both sides and get both sides of a story. There are so many clowns on X that call themselves journalists, and they're not. They just give their opinions based on right-wing propaganda and what Jack Posobiec has to say. That's where they get their information from Newsmax, and they call themselves journalists. They're the biggest clowns that America has to offer. And these people on X, we're the media now. Why is that? Because you go on X and use your little Trump fingers and claim that Joe Biden is a pedophile? That makes you a journalist? What credentials do any of you have? There are real journalists in society. Look, a guy like a Chris Wallace, who I never always agreed with, he went to Fox News, and then when they became the show that they are, Fox Noise, then he went to CNN, and then he retired. But Chris Wallace is a real journalist. Dan Rather, a real journalist. Walter Cronkite, God bless his soul, was a real journalist. Barbara Walters. They knew how to interview people. They listened to both sides, and they report on facts. Many of these people on X are incapable of even listening to the other side. That's not a journalist. Now, I'm not a journalist. I'm a radio talk show host. I'm an opinionated radio talk show host, but at least I interview Republicans. In fact, I interview more people that I disagree with than I agree with. In the last 6 months, I've interviewed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I've interviewed Vivek Ramaswamy. Heck, I've interviewed Caroline Leavitt. I'm not a journalist, but I'm also not a coward when it comes to debating people and interviewing people that I might disagree with. Name me an AM conservative talk show where they consistently interview somebody on the other side. Mark Levin is a perfect example of a coward. The moron goes on the radio every day. Are you a liberal? Are you a liberal? When was the last time Mark Levin interviewed somebody that he disagrees with? I'm talking about a left-wing liberal. Never. In the history of his show, I don't think I've ever heard of a time where Mark Levin interviewed a liberal that he disagreed with and had a debate, because he's a coward. Not only is that not good radio, but it's cowardly. Sean Hannity has interviewed Gavin Newsom a few times, and I give Gavin Newsom credit for that. How many liberals go on Fox News and go on with Sean? Now, Sean Hannity, to his credit, does say, I'm not a journalist. He's not. He's also a talentless boob. Think about it. Michael Savage and some of these right-wing coward turds that are on the air. AM talk radio. Now, I know if I name some of the local people here in Las Vegas, you won't even know who the hell they are. But I can guarantee you they ain't interviewing people that they disagree with, because they're talentless cowards. And that's why they have 6 listeners. So Elon Musk could go ahead and say, you're the media. Elon Musk could go on and on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. President Musk could say, you guys are the media now. X is a cesspool of medical misinformation, misinformation about politics, news, even weather, with a bunch of morons who live a second life of being on X. Let me also be very clear. X is not real life. Social media is not real life. And people that are depressed, that have anxiety, I feel bad for these people that are so unhappy with who they are. When they go on X, it's a release for them where they can pretend to be somebody else. That's not real life. And I can tell you that X has done far worse for society than good. And I could also tell you that if I wasn't doing a radio show every day, I would never go on social media. Elon Musk is not the media. Those that are on X that call themselves journalists are not journalists. And just because you have an opinion and you write it out and type it out on Twitter or X doesn't mean you're right, and it doesn't mean you have any credibility. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Herb. Herb is next up on PTL. Hello, Herb.
Brian, listen, you kind of answered your own question when you said why they don't go on Mark Levin. Remember how you were upset by the fact that Kamala Harris wouldn't go on any of the conservative talk shows or anything like that? Same way with Biden. Biden wouldn't go on any conservative or on Fox News or Newsmax. He wouldn't go on there. He never did. Even every year, the years that they would alternate when they had the Super Bowl, the president normally gave an interview, a 30-minute interview to the station that had the Super Bowl. And Biden didn't do that.
Okay, so if you listen to the show, you would understand and you would already know that I've criticized Kamala Harris and her campaign for being very too careful with her.
That's right.
As far as Joe Biden goes, yeah, I think he should have done more interviews, absolutely. But
I agree.
But
with
it goes
you.
both
You were
ways.
Right when you said that.
But it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
But Brian, what I'm saying is you were right when you said that, and while you were doing the campaign, when you kept saying that, I agreed with you. However, that's the problem with Mark Levin. Liberals are not going to go on that station because he's got his facts together. He knows the Constitution.
He does not. Okay, let's go with
They're
that.
Let's go with that.
Let's go with that. Let's go with that. You just said. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Herb, let's go with what you just said. Okay. You just said Mark Levin has, quote, his facts together. Mark Levin is the guy that consistently still says that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. Mark Levin is the guy who has lied about Joe Biden and his alleged criminal activity. He lied about Hunter Biden's laptop. Mark Levin spreads lies and propaganda every single day. So when you say Mark Levin knows the Constitution, first of all, Mark Levin has never, ever criticized Donald Trump for anything. He coddles Donald Trump. He coddles the far right. And let me tell you something. Many of people that are in office today, Democrats, some of whom that I know personally, would gladly go on Mark Levin's show. Mark Levin and his stupid producer, who I've talked to before, by the way, they call him Mr. Producer. They are morons and they are cowards. I completely disagree. Hold on a second. You're the one who's giving credibility to Mark Levin. I don't care how much you claim or he claims he knows the Constitution. What good does it do when he goes on the air, talks about the same topics every day, fails to criticize anybody? On one show today, I've criticized more people on the left than Mark Levin has criticized on the right in his entire radio career. So for you to try to give somebody credibility who is a right-wing biased buffoon who will only criticize people who go after Donald Trump, he'll only, and by the way, you want to call him a constitutionalist? Why doesn't he ever criticize Donald Trump talking about the enemy within? Why doesn't he ever criticize Donald Trump for January 6th? Why doesn't he?
Well, Brian, you gonna let me talk, or are you gonna?
You're the one. I want you not just to talk. I want you to respond to my criticisms of Mark Levin and try to defend them.
Okay, I'll respond to him. You never compliment Trump. Does that mean that you're all messed up too?
We're not talking.
Never compliment Trump.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
We're not talking. No, wait a minute.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. No, you're wrong.
There you go,
no,
Brian.
You're wrong.
You don't want anybody to...
Herb, I need you to listen to me. I'm not talking about who you compliment. I'm talking about who you criticize. I've criticized Kamala Harris. You just admitted that in this conversation. I've criticized Joe Biden. I'm not talking about who you give a nice pat on the head and compliment. We're talking about criticism, because you really can learn something about somebody when they're willing to criticize somebody that they might like. So, Herb, when has Mark Levin criticized Donald Trump? Go ahead. As we pod you back up, go ahead.
Brian, you asked me that question before, and I told you before, I can't bring up something where he's criticized Donald Trump.
Because he hasn't.
That doesn't mean, I've never heard you compliment Trump.
Do you not understand? Do you not understand?
What does that mean?
First of all, I have, because I complimented.
You know something?
Hold on, I'm going to compliment him right now. I'm going to compliment him right now. Herb, I'm going to compliment him right now. Stay on the line. I compliment and I give a lot of credit to Donald Trump for turning people like you into brainwashed fools. I compliment Donald Trump for exposing how stupid people are in this country. I compliment Donald Trump for brainwashing people into believing that he won the 2020 election, people like you. But you see, Herb, you're off kilter. You were giving Mark Levin credibility, which he has none. And you couldn't name me one situation where he's ever criticized Donald Trump for anything. And you're trying to give somebody like that credibility. And what I said, Herb, and I will repeat again, I've criticized Democrats more today than Mark Levin will criticize Republicans in his 30-year radio career. We're not talking about praising people. Now, Herb, I don't know how you feel about this, but I find it difficult to praise people that are liable sexual abusers, that have 25 women that have accused him of rape or sexual assault. I take issue and I have trouble praising people that are bad people. Now, you wouldn't go ahead and praise Scott Peterson. You wouldn't go ahead and praise someone who is liable for sexual abuse if they weren't a politician. Example. Let's just say Scott Peterson worked in a soup kitchen. Would you say, Brian, how come you haven't said nice things about Scott Peterson? Well, Brian, Donald Trump's not a murderer. Scott Peterson is. Donald Trump did some pretty horrible things. His own ex-wife accused him of rape in court documents. So maybe in Donald Trump's life, maybe he's done a few good things. Maybe. Besides manipulating the media. Maybe he's done some good things in his life. But I am not going to sit here and praise somebody that incited an insurrection, that continues to be a threat to democracy, that is a liable sexual abuser and 34-count felon. Now, if you want to go ahead and listen to a show that praises Donald Trump like Mark Levin and wears Donald Trump knee pads, you can go ahead and you can do that. But unlike Mark Levin, I'm willing to call out both sides. And if you listen to that little weasel, Mark Levin, today, he will blame Democrats for why this bill was put together and why it wasn't passed. I guarantee you, he will put maybe he'll put some criticism into Mike Johnson. Why? Because that's the MAGA way of doing things, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. He won't blame Donald Trump or Elon Musk for anything. So I'm sorry, Herb, you're not going to hear a lot of compliments out of my mouth to Donald Trump, even when he did Operation Warp Speed, which, by the way, I did give him credit for. He wasn't public enough about it. He went privately to get vaccinated with he and Melania. So even when he does do something good occasionally, he turns it into a negative because he only cares about himself. Now, you can't name me one thing that Mark Levin has ever said in any criticism of a MAGA Republican, but yet you want to give him credibility, Herb? Give me a break. When he did my show, he was promoting his book. I was told from his people not to criticize his political opinions. I was on a conservative radio station. Thank God I am not on that station now. He would never do this show now, and I would destroy him. And you could talk about how smart he is when it comes to the Constitution. Well, you know what that's like saying? That's like saying this guy's brilliant when it comes to law, but yet he defends rapists and he defends felons and he defends murderers. What good is it if you have knowledge, but you don't use it accordingly and are fair with it? You want to talk about the Constitution? You want to talk about Mark Levin and how brilliant he is? Because really? What does it say in our Constitution about somebody that lies about an election and incites an election? What does it say in our Constitution about that? What does it say about somebody that refuses to leave office? What does it say about somebody that has dictator tendencies? What does it say about somebody that hires members of their family and enriches them while they are holding public office? Mark Levin is a constitutionalist, but he never seems to talk about the Constitution as it pertains to Donald Trump unless he tries to defend him, Herb. I'm sorry, but you're not going to push credibility when it comes to Mark Levin on this show, Herb. I'm sorry, dude. That's just not going to happen, man.
Are you going to let me talk, Brian?
If I
say something?
If you say something fair and honest and factual,
okay,
sure.
I'm glad I'm still. Thanks for not hanging up on me. But you know, Brian, if you listen to his show, he criticizes Republicans all the time.
Give me an example of him
And
criticizing.
it's
I
not-
didn't. That's not what I said.
He
Herb.
criticizes Republicans
Herb.
all the time.
Herb.
Let me say one more thing.
Hold
Brian.
on.
Let me
I
say
will.
one more
I
thing,
will.
and
I will let you say one more thing, but I'm going to address what you just said. I didn't say Mark Levin never criticizes Republicans. This is the problem with my frustration with you, Herb. You don't listen. I specifically brought up Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans. Make no mistake about it. The type of Republicans that Mark Levin is criticizing are the same Republicans that Donald Trump is criticizing. Anybody that does not wear the Donald Trump knee pads. We could be talking about a Liz Cheney. We could be talking about an Adam Kinzinger. We could be talking about a Mitt Romney. That doesn't mean you're fair, Herb. Find me one MAGA Republican that Mark Levin has criticized, and then I will listen to you. But you can't, Herb. Go right ahead.
Okay, all I'm saying is that you have a technique of when somebody pins you up against a wall, you
Donald
start
Trump has
rambling
never
about a whole bunch of nonsense. You did the same thing to
Nonsense.
Patrick the other day
Okay,
before yesterday.
I'm not
I think it
interested.
was,
I'm not
and you
interested.
don't let
I'm
him-
not interested in hearing your grievances. Luckily, you've never pinned me up against a wall, and neither has Donald Trump, even though I'm sure he's done that to plenty of women in his life. I'm not sure how you've pinned me up against a wall when you just, in this entire conversation, were trying to give credibility to Mark Levin, and then I asked you to give me an example of one time Mark Levin has ever criticized Donald Trump, and you couldn't, and somehow you've pinned me against a wall. Your definition of pinning somebody against a wall is very different from mine, but maybe we should talk to E. Jean Carroll about that, because the guy who pins women against a wall is the guy that you voted for. So if you want to talk about pinning people against a wall, let's talk about Pete Hegseth. Let's talk about Donald Trump, and let's talk about many of those other people that you seem to support that actually do literally pin people against walls, Herb.
And why would somebody listen to you anyway, Brian? You were wrong about everything.
Herb, here's the thing. Why would somebody listen to me? Well, maybe you should ask yourself that same question, Herb, because you call into this show every day and you listen to me every day. So clearly I'm growing on you like a fungus, and you enjoy being embarrassed on this show every day. Why would somebody listen to me? Maybe you could ask the 200,000 plus people that listen to this show every day on all forms of social media, Herb. Herb, why do you listen to me every day? Why do you call in every day? Why don't you answer your own question? How long have you been listening to me on the air? How long have you been listening to me, Herb?
I've been listening to you for several years. You know that.
Why do people listen to me?
I listened to you when you were with JD on the other station.
So let me be, so my question is, you're asking the question on the air, why do people listen to me? And you just own it and admit that you've been listening to me on the air for years. Herb, you sound ridiculous. Yep. You sound ridiculous.
And the reason why, I'm going to tell you why I listen to you, Brian.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
I like to hear the other side and what their arguments are. You may have something. You may come up with something one day that I agree with.
Okay, Herb, thank you.
And
I might come up with something someday that you agree with. Yeah, brilliantly spoken, Herb. Here's the thing, Herb. I'm not on the other side. If you actually had a brain, you'd understand, Herb. I'm on your side, too. I'm on the side of Americans when I say I don't want a liable sexual abuser, 34-count felon who wakes up in the morning and puts on 8 layers of orange makeup to be the leader of the free world. That doesn't mean I'm on a side. It means I want somebody with a moral compass and decency. Okay? You want to hear the other side. Why don't you, Freya? I want to hear a side that is fair, that is honest, and that is willing to interview other people that I might disagree with. So, Herb, I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you calling in. But you just answered your own question. Maybe some people like you, Herb, are sick and tired of everything one-sided on the far right when it comes to talk radio in this country, and they're a bunch of right-wing buffoons like Mark Levin. Thank you for the call. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Bryce. Bryce is next. What's up, Bryce?
Hey, man. How you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, not much. Hey, I don't know if you heard about I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I don't know if you've heard about the Pizzeria Coeur d'Alene incident.
I am not familiar with that. Tell me, what is that?
So, Pizza Coeur d'Alene or Pizzeria Cortale, or however you say it, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not good with that stuff. But recently, they've gotten a lot of attention in regards to denying, or not denying, but turning down to do a same-sex marriage based off of their beliefs as Christian conservatives.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So I didn't.
Well, I mean, a little off topic, but I'll say this: the far right has always been anti-gay. They're anti-LGBT community. They're anti-gay marriage. They're anti-gay Pride Month. Basically, the far right are anti anything that is not them. So if you're not a white supremacist, then you're not okay in their book. This is the far right, and this is what they do, and this is what they will continue to do.
So how do you consider a far right person? Would you say that they are?
I think you're far right, if that's what you're asking me. I think you're considered far right when you don't want brown people in this country, when you attack the gay community, when you think being gay is a sin, when you attack the trans community, when you judge people based on skin color, when you have no problem with January 6th and you characterize it as a tourist visit, but you only want to talk about Black Lives Matter protests, some of them that turned violent. And when you support Donald Trump, when you buy his Bibles, when you go to his rallies, when you call people like Kamala Harris a whore, when you call Joe Biden a pedophile, when you go out in front of a Target store and you picket and you don't want people to go into Target because they're selling, pro-LGBTQ shirts. When you do these types of things, you attack people for wearing masks, you attack Dr. Fauci, and you think he should be in jail. When you think drag queen reading is the sky falling, but then after a mass shooting, you say thoughts and prayers and you say more guns make us safer. I just named you a lot of things that makes you far right, and I could probably name you a lot more, but in general terms, that's what makes you far right in 2024.
Well, that's interesting. Have you ever, has it ever crossed your mind that maybe people are not going to bend the knee to the woke mob anymore?
Well, give me an example of the woke mob. Be specific. 'Cause that's a general term. Be specific and tell me what you mean by that.
I mean, that's the swamp, is it not? The Democrats and the far left.
The swamp is the Democrats and the far left. So you would say Mitch McConnell's not part of the swamp? Is he far left?
Sure he is.
Okay,
yeah,
well, he's not far left.
Republican.
Okay, but he's
well,
not
he
far
could be
left.
a Rhino Republican.
Okay.
Well, he's still a Rhino.
Okay, but you said the far left. But give me an example of something that you think is woke. Like, give me a policy. Be specific. Like, when you say woke mob, was it a woke mob that attacked the Capitol on January 6th? Would you characterize that as a woke mob?
Sure, I would.
Okay, so you're saying that those that attacked the Capitol on January 6th were leftists?
Yes, they were undercover.
Okay, so that's 150% not true. In fact, there were thousands of people that were, you can laugh, but I'm trying to give you facts and I'm trying to educate you. There were thousands of people that were prosecuted. Several hundred of those people are still in jail. It was proven in court that many of those people were far right in far right fringe groups, and it was proven in a court of law. There is no evidence that a bunch of lefty liberals were the ones that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. And for you to even make a statement like that is blatantly ignorant, sir, and there's no facts to back up what you just said. Can you name me one lefty liberal proven in a court of law that stormed the Capitol on January 6th? Can you name me one?
I don't know who the names of the people are.
Oh, you don't know who the names are. Yeah, how about Ashley Babbitt? Was she a liberal?
Not to my knowledge, but she was wrongfully shot.
Okay, well, I really don't care what your opinions are, whether she was wrongfully shot or not. I'm not going to get into that with you. You just said that there were lefty liberals that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Sir, the earth is not flat, and they weren't lefty liberals that stormed the Capitol, and it wasn't Antifa. I mean, I'm not going to entertain conspiracy theories. That's absurd. Now, I've asked you to name me a policy that's woke. You haven't named me one policy. What are you talking about when you say woke mob? Give me a policy that Democrats have implemented. I can even name you a couple policies that I think are woke. Can you not name me one policy? No, I'm not going to do for you. You're the one who brought it up. Name me one policy.
What are you mad about, man?
Because you call into this show and you talk about the woke mob. You say the left was responsible for January 6th, which is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. You complain about the woke mob and you can't name one policy on the left that's woke. How stupid are you, sir? Really, how dumb are you? Yeah, wow.
So was that
you're woke. I think you're woke.
You're
a woke mob. I think you're part of the woke mob, sir. Did you storm the Capitol on January 6th? Are you an insurrectionist?
No.
You look.
No, sir.
Do you look like Duck Dynasty? Do you live in a mobile home? What do you look like, sir? Are you another uneducated and ill-informed white guy who voted for Donald Trump? Get the hell off my show, you buffoon. 7:02. We're out of time. Oh, that's too bad. Well, there's a lot of people on hold. I apologize. I'll get to some more phone calls tomorrow. So the film Fight Like Hell. The director of that film is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. Why? Well, Donald Trump has said that he's going to, speaking of January 6th, pardon the January 6th insurrectionists. The director of that film, Fight Like Hell, is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. We're going to have a few more very special guests tomorrow as well. Check out my YouTube page, at PTL Radio Show. Again, it's at PTL Radio Show if you do want to get more involved on my YouTube page. PushingTheLimits.live is my website. We accept donations on there. It's PushingTheLimits.live. We are an independently owned show, and we sell merchandise on there too. PushingTheLimits.live. Love all you guys too. Thank you for the compliments there. Appreciate that on social media. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Whether we have insurrectionists that call into the show or not. And, give a thumbs up to President Elon Musk. President Musk, we got to get that trending on social media. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more.